Hello, hello. Happy Thursday. Heather Jean here with our spring clean challenge day 4. Super excited for this day. I just wonder how you're getting on. Thank you, Hazel, for sharing with us how you're getting on and what you've done. I just wonder how the rest of you are getting on in terms of really diving into your intentions and what it is that you want to get from uh, just what you want to get from this challenge. And remember to go back to those intentions, because your intentions are everything. And when we are in our intentions, then our brain is naturally seeking what it is that we're looking for, and we'll find those clues, those kind of breadcrumbs along the way, to see what we can find towards our intentions. So yes, we're all good. I'm alive. That's good. I can put that down now. So happy Thursday. What does your garden need today? What is it that you need? Is it rest? Is it sunshine? If you're in the UK, we're getting like little moments of glimmers of sunshine. But maybe it's a little bit more centering. If you're feeling emotionally drained, then taking some time for yourself, and time that is beyond Netflix. Like I'm a fan of kind of watching stuff online. That's fine for entertainment and to kind of let go of things. But taking some time to really kind of lean in and maybe meditate or listen to some music or read something, just to kind of get into the moment. And when we do that, then it can be really recentering, which is important for us, particularly if you're working on intentions. And today is all about weeding your garden, and it's a lot about beliefs. So I want to talk about a little bit about boundaries. I want to talk about beliefs. Also want to talk a little bit about forgiveness and release and letting go, and then a little bit in terms of prosperity, whether that's money or whether that's energy, or whether that's what is it that you're trying to attract for you in terms of energy. So that's where we're going today. Whenever you're watching this is all good. So say hello. We are live on YouTube. This will be under the Spring Clean Challenge playlist on Confidence Through Cabaret YouTube. Also in the Facebook community, of course, where we have the richness of all of the communities and all of the community sharing, I should say. So thank you so much for being here. Let's dive in and let's just kind of really reaffirm. So how are you doing with your affirmations? Your affirmations are things that you affirm to yourself, and they become beliefs because we cycle them around and around and around until they become just who we are. And oh, my dog Chase is here with me with a squeaky toy, just to make sure that we have enough energy in here. I don't know how I'm going to get the toy away from him without actually leaving this. Okay, well, we seem to be okay now. I mean, we're all perfectly imperfect here, and we don't need to apologize or explain. We just move on. So back to your intentions and what does your garden need today? And when we're talking about weeding our garden, when we're talking about, so we've kind of mulched up the soil, or if you're talking about it in terms of cleaning and clearing in terms of your house, then we've kind of disturbed the dust and gathered it all together, and then we talked about what kind of seeds do you want to plant, how do you want to arrange things if you're talking about your house, having space, having things that are honoring for you around you. And a lot of times when you're talking about spring cleaning in terms of your house, getting rid of clutter can be a really great way of clearing space. We have all these, oh, we're back to the squeaky toy. We have all of these things around us that we love. I have so much, I'm going to say junk, around me, but they take a lot of our energy. They absorb our energy by being there and by confining us in our space. And also we have to take care of them. We have to dust them or vacuum them or, water them or whatever. Although I'm never going to say that plants are part of junk, not for me anyway. But, we have to look after our things, right? And so really kind of honoring yourself with what you choose to surround yourself with. I never could understand what minimalist lifestyle was like, but I'll tell you what, I am really starting to understand that need to clear things. And it can be a difficult thing, right? That letting go, that weeding things out, because I have a cupboard full of games that I love. I don't get a chance to play them very often because I don't have people to play them with. But when we are together, then, the games always come out. So I don't want to get rid of them, but also I don't want this huge cupboard full of the games. Um, and I know that if I put them somewhere up in the loft or in the garage, then I know that they'll never come out when people are here. So I need to kind of reconcile what kind of weeding I need to do, certainly in my house as well as in my garden, because my weeds right now are fully taking over my garden. So we've loosened the soil, we've planted the best seeds, we've started to nourish and nurture those seeds. And we talked about, being in our body and feeling good in our body. And, um, I think when we do that, inevitably weeds will come up. Little things will poke through the surface that you weren't expecting. Little things will start to grow. Some of them have pretty strong roots. If you're talking about literal weeds, some of them are really tough. You've got to actually dig them out if they've been there too long, right? So the deal is that we try and pull out the weeds when they're small and little sprouts and don't have huge roots. But I acknowledge that for some of our weeding, we do need to really kind of dig out some of the roots. And so, on a challenge like this, that can be really difficult to really get down into. Certainly, it's stuff that I do with my coaching clients. It's stuff that I do on my confidence master classes to a little bit more degree, and in programs to a much greater degree in a group setting. So let's talk a little bit about where we need to kind of set our boundaries. Now, if you were planting something in your garden, you might need to set things around it. For example, once or twice I've tried to grow tomatoes. They are very difficult, at least for me they were, because insects and all kinds of things get involved in it, and you have to put netting around it. You have to, kind of map off an area. If you're growing vegetables and flowers, you might want to kind of allocate certain areas. Those are all boundaries, right? It's that expression, I'm going to get this wrong, I'm sure, but it's the expression about good fences make good neighbors. It's that. And so when we talk about boundaries, and I talk about boundaries a huge amount in my work, because it's a major part of our confidence. And when we set up boundaries, sometimes people will reject them, especially if they're boundaries that are new and people haven't needed to adhere to or follow your boundaries before. Then they're going to want to push back a little bit and go, hold on a second, this has never been a rule before. Why is this suddenly a rule now? So, no, not rule, but why is this a boundary? And saying no is a really key part of serving our boundaries. So if you need to do the boundary work, then the easiest place to start, I feel, is to start looking at, when something comes up, is it really going to serve you? Does it feel right in your body? Does it feel right in your mind? Is it something that you want to do? And if it isn't, then say no. Is it something that you tend to say yes and yes and yes, and then when the day comes or the moment comes to leave, you think, oh, why did I say yes? And you dread it? Then consider saying no. And I say only consider, because wind that ahead to when you have said yes, needed to go because you said yes, and then ended up having a great time, then that might be something that you accept and push yourself a little bit outside of your comfort zone. But if it's something that drains you, or something that doesn't serve you, or something that takes away from what you need, because you're always serving others, you're the ambulance or the rescuer, and you're always doing for others, and that feels great to a point, then you're going to need to learn to say no. So here we're talking about, what do you need? Listening to your body, listening to your thoughts, How is your self-talk going? You know, because it's also about saying no to your self-talk, right? It's also about saying, no, I'm not having that thought. I'm not going into that space, because when I do, my body feels it, and it's sapping of my energy. So saying no to your own thoughts when they come up, if they're not serving you, is also part of that saying no, and that's part of training that will happen fairly swiftly when you start to be able to say no to your thoughts that aren't serving you, and then think about what do you need, and listen to your body and listen to your thoughts and align with those. And that's why I start each of these sessions with, what does your garden need today? Just that deep breath and taking that moment to think, what do I need? Right now, I can feel in my body, I need food. I like proper food because I had a quick meal at an event I was running last night. So that, and then that it wasn't the nutritious, kind of thing that I needed. I am just looking at what my dog has got that is I need to just nip off because I'll be right. I'll be 2 seconds. So just talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. All righty. And we kick over the microphone at the same time, all perfectly imperfect. Sorry about that. That was a whole moment. The dog had actually an item of clothing that they were ripping up, and it's not mine, it's my son's, but I didn't want that to continue. So, yes, so I'm saying no to the dog, or I will do in a minute. But I think when we think about what serves us, for me right now, I can feel that it's something in my body that I need. I have stretched, I have meditated, I have spent some internal reflection and gratitude time this morning, and so that's been really helpful. But I actually need some fundamental just food and basic things. So when you're thinking about your boundaries, it's about kind of letting yourself have what it is that serves you, or releasing the things that do not serve you. And like I say, a lot of times when we're doing this, start from yourself. What do you need to say no to? And then you can extend out into, boundaries for others. And where is the line? So you don't want to get to the point where people cross the line, right? And then you go, whoa, that crossed the line. You want to be able to see it when you're getting to your limit, or others are getting towards your limit, and then slow that down, or have that conversation, or say no, or change direction if it's for you, rather than being really pushed up against the wall and at your last straw, and then saying no, or lashing out, or feeling exhausted, or whatever it is. We don't want this to allow us to drain us when we're setting boundaries, and it does get easier, but it is a practice. So the second thing that I wanted to come on to in terms of your weeding our gardens is around our beliefs. And I said to you on day one about affirmations. Our beliefs are what we're affirming to ourselves. And again, I just redid my affirmations earlier this week, just to kind of tweak them to align with what I need. And I do talk about affirmations stated in the positive. Hopefully, you've been sitting with some positive ones this week as we've been going on, as we've been dropping little drops of color into our vessel, and kind of coloring our world. But if you're thinking about affirmations, when we talk negatively to ourselves, or allow our imposter voice or inner critic to be talking to affirming things, then it really becomes entrenched, and that's when we get into those deep, big roots that we have to start digging out. So what you can do for beliefs, without going into the deep kind of where are the causes and stuff, is sit and think about what are your beliefs, and write the beliefs that no longer serve you. For example, the belief that I am impatient, it doesn't serve me. I know that sometimes I am impatient, but it's not, I am not impatient. It's not a definitive thing about me. It's that sometimes I can behave impatiently, and that's quite different. So so that belief doesn't serve me. That's something that my mother installed, and I'm still working on that one. Write down any beliefs that no longer serve you. And then when you've got those, and you might want to do this in columns, then think about, do you truly believe each one? Is it always true? So, for example, if I was to write down I'm impatient, and that's a belief, then whether that comes from you and your own experience, or whether that comes from others in the programming that you've received, then you can say, is that true? Is that always true? Is that a belief that I am choosing to have for myself? Because this is the beautiful part about being adults, is we get to choose, right? We get to choose our beliefs. We get to reprogram. Nobody taught us how. Nobody even told us that we could reprogram our beliefs. And so just, really kind of look at each one of the beliefs that are no longer serving you, and then cross off any that don't apply to you and rewrite a better belief. Now, we've talked about this lots of times in Confidence Through Cabaret, that flip it of rewriting a better belief that you need to affirm. And you'll need to keep affirming that. So keep that somewhere. I don't care if you have a pad of Post-its. It doesn't matter if you have a journal. Journals maybe not so great at this. I mean, it is great. Journals are fantastic. I have three sitting right next to me, but um, somewhere where you can see it and you can affirm it throughout the day. So I have my affirmations that I'm working through right now. I have them on my bathroom mirror. I have them next to my space. I have them in my office. Sometimes I keep them on my laptop. Even like on the screen, or just on the keyboard, just next to the keyboard. Wherever you're going to see that, in the kitchen, next to the kettle, wherever you're going to see it, just write down that new affirmation, because you're going to need to practice that. And it's not just when you wake up or just when you go to sleep, it's throughout the day. And if you're going to embed it, you'll need to do that for at least 28 days to free yourself from those negative beliefs that were programmed into you, and to be able to start to embrace and recognize yourself in the new beliefs that you have chosen. So the other thing is that, and this is where, some of the bigger weeds that have stronger roots might come up, is about mastering your ability to forgive. Because, and I'll use my own example again of, my mother gave me that, "You're so impatient." And I can hear the tone exactly in my head. Um, and and so that forgiveness is very, very important. So if you've had programming or beliefs or even boundaries that don't serve you, that were part of your upbringing, that you were reinforced only when you won, or only when you were quiet, or only when you were funny, or whatever, if there were things that were reinforced that said you are only good when you're being this way, and actually that doesn't serve you, then you'll need to forgive. So when you blame others, you give away your power to them, right? And you end up feeling stuck, and you're holding on to things, and there's anger or blame or fear or regret or frustration or whatever it is. So that forgiveness is about taking your power back, just as having, following new boundaries, or reaffirming your boundaries and your beliefs, is about taking your power back. Forgiveness is about recognizing that that person, or those people, or those circumstances were the best that they could be with what they knew at the time. So the best that my mother could do at the time, with what she knew, was to see that this was the right way to behave, because that was what was programmed into her, and back several generations. And a lot of things that get passed on are passed on from several generations. I have quite a lot of forgiveness to do around my education system as well, around things that teachers affirmed for me, that I talked too much. And I have learned to recognize where that's coming from. And I've learned to embrace the strength of that, and also when to let go and not talk so much, because that's when I can really get into my meditation, or into my gratitude. And so, but I forgive those who programmed that for me, um, instead of blaming them. They were doing their best at the time. They were doing their best for, let's say, everybody in the class. They were doing their best with what they knew. Teachers aren't trained in mental health much of the time. Certainly not back when I was at school. They weren't trained in self esteem and all of those things. So you were at the mercy of what they knew at the time, and that's true for all of us. So forgiveness. The exercise that I do for forgiveness is sit in meditation, think about that situation and that person. This comes from Louise Hay, who I'm a big fan of, and Louise talks about imagining that person. So if I'm imagining my mother up on a stage where everyone is shining love and light and appreciation for them, and including me, and then I turn and I walk through out the room, out through the bars that were holding me into it. And I know that in that space, they are loved and appreciated, and I am free. And I do that visualization quite often when I'm doing my meditation. Just for what it's worth, in case that's helpful for you, I find it immensely helpful. And then the next thing I want to talk about in terms of weeding your garden is being in the present. And I've talked about this a couple of times this week. This is how you create your future, is right now. It's not about staying in your past. It's not about staying in those things that you need to forgive. It's not about being imprisoned by, beliefs. You can't change your future unless you're changing your thinking. So being in the present, being aware of your beliefs, being aware of your boundaries, and forgiving and letting go in this moment is such a beautiful way to clear that space towards moving into your future. And that's where we start to get, be able to pluck the light weeds, because we don't allow any more weeds to grow with this huge every year I say to myself, I'm not going to let the weeds get really strong, like the literally weeds in my garden. And every year there are one or two that I still have that I think, how did you get so big and strong? Now, some of that might have been that I didn't go deep enough under the soil and those roots just resprouted. And some of those are brand new ones that I literally didn't deal with at the time. But, we really are talking about that ability to clear that space so that you can be who you want to be. You can express how you want to express, and you can really just connect into the positive. And it won't always be like that. There's going to be ups and downs, we know that, but as long as we have momentum, then those lows don't go as low and we don't stay down as long. So someone may trigger you, someone may push your buttons, but let's be clear, who created those buttons? Right? Like, where did those buttons come from? So there are definitely buttons that I can trigger. And some of those are recent buttons that I have allowed. Some of those are, people are pushing my buttons and I'm thinking, ooh, that's very triggering. I created that button in this past year. Other ones go deeper, and for some of them, only our family can push our buttons because they know where those are. But when we think about those, that's our weeding. That's our kind of clearing away some of those buttons that trigger you and taking responsibility for your responses, because you always have the choice of your response. And by doing this work and by clearing your garden and by clearing the weeds before they take really strong root, this is about mastering your ability to respond with a conscious choice that serves you. So just a word before I move away from forgiveness. There is a difference between forgiveness and acceptance. So when we forgive, we let go of the pain, we release ourselves, and we release that energy that isn't serving us. But it is not about condoning the other person's behavior. And so if I share some of the work that I have already done, and it still pokes through the surface every once in a while, but not so much anymore. Is my first marriage was an abusive marriage, and I I had to learn the difference between, the I don't accept what they do. I don't condone what they do or what they did. Maybe, hopefully, they don't do that anymore. But that what they did, I did not accept that. I did not condone that behavior, and so I needed to put the boundary up, draw my lines, take my action that I've chosen, and then work through the beliefs and forgiveness. But condoning or accepting somebody's behavior is not the same thing as forgiveness. So forgiveness allows us to move forward. And it's nothing really to do with the other person, right? Other than you've given that person the power. But it's not allowing the actions of others to continue to impact you. So forgiveness is releasing and moving forward. So there's a choice. Again, going back to responsibility, you can choose to stay stuck, or you can forgive and then let go. But healthy boundaries is the most kind thing that you can do to yourself or for yourself, so that you choose what you practice. And there are affirmations around I move through forgiveness to love. Those are affirmations that I've used in the past. Again, Louise Hay has a ton of affirmations, and I have my 50 favorite. If you want them, let me know. Just drop a comment and I will send them to you. And then you can, kind of tweak them. I don't do them as PDFs so that they can be tweaked. And I've done several versions of them to serve me in a given time. But I'm willing to forgive and heal is a great affirmation, so long as you're stating it in the positive. And then when we've cleared this space, when we've nipped the weeds in the bud, when we've done some of the deeper work to dig out some of the stronger roots, that's when we can come away from a place of lack and into prosperity. And the greatest way to move into that space is through gratitude. I work on my gratitude all the time, and Lee Walker has a gratitude practice going on in her Facebook group right now, which I'm loving. And we're working through the magic steps from the magic from Rhonda Byrne. But I think when you think about gratitude, it's very different than being thankful. I have done the being thankful, what I thought was gratitude practice, for a very long time. And I was thank you, thank you, thank you. But I wasn't really feeling it. And so now what I've started to do in my gratitude practice is really kind of feel it in my body and mind. So if I'm thankful for the sunshine, then it's not just going, oh, I'm thankful for the sunshine, I'm grateful for the sunshine. It's really kind of breathing that in and feeling that in my body. And the way that I find works best for me is to imagine that that sunshine is shining down and smiling on me too. So there's a reciprocal kind of energy that goes on, so that I feel that deeper in my body. If I'm grateful for my car, then really kind of breathing that in, imagining all of the things that cause me to be grateful for my car, and imagine that reciprocal, my car smiling back at me, if you like. Yeah, let's not go Stephen King on this, but you know where I'm going. It's like it's really just taking that moment. So when you write out your gratitude, if you do, or when you think about your gratitude, if you do, that throughout the day, or when you start your day or end your day with gratitude, then really just take a moment and feel into each one of those. And so when we're grateful, when we notice, then that's when we can create a positive, reap and sow cycle. If we're not positive, if we're dishonest with ourselves, or we're embracing beliefs that no longer serve us, then we get that reap and sow, and we get more of that. So it's the same with income. When we come from a place of lack, then that's the energy that we're attracting. So treating others with respect and openness and caring and loving can include that you tell them when you're getting to your boundary, and you can stop that kind of encroachment past your boundary, and you can then treat others with respect from where you are and what you need. So there are a lot of affirmations. I have only good in my life is one of the Louise Hay positive ones. I deserve and accept only the best for myself. My good comes from everywhere and everyone. Those affirmations are just beautiful. But that prosperity is important, that that this is heading to something, that this is receiving. You're putting yourself into receiving mode, and this is receiving more of that energy and prosperity that your garden needs in your body and your mind. So Thank you for watching. I am going to wrap up here with our homework challenge homework. Post in the group if you feel inclined and comfortable, and it is a very safe space. It's only for our Facebook community. What is one belief that you can change to be more positive? Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can comment on the YouTube. I also reply to the YouTube ones. But if you're in our community, it's a very safe and supportive environment, and others will support you in it as well. So what is one belief that you can change to be more positive? And if you want a bonus homework, then clean out some space, clear some space for yourself. Now, we talked about kind of clearing a space with the altar of things that honor you, but clear out a drawer or a shelf or a space or a kitchen counter or whatever it is. I'm just looking around thinking, yeah, I'm going to clear the top of the fireplace shelf or mantelpiece, and then clear that out and leave it empty. Just leave that beautiful space and see how that feels and see how that sits. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you very much for your comments and for your participation. I will catch you same time tomorrow for day 5, Spring Clean Challenge. This is Heather Jean. I'm reminding you that it is your body and it is your world and it is your stage. Take up space and own it and enjoy the beautiful day. Be grateful. Thank you. Bye for now.